So, hello there, good people of the world. Welcome to another video and stream. Tonight we are here over. No, we're not here. We want to go to Iceland. Uh, the Bush Divers VA, their headquarters is as far as I know, it's in Papua New Guinea, and I do love that country very much. But I love Iceland even more. There's a special reason for this because my wife and I did our honeymoon on Iceland. It was basically a trip, a 4 weeks long trip where we followed the ring road around Iceland, and we basically rented a car and stayed overnight at all kinds of guest houses and small container hotels, and we went to all kinds of waterfalls and all kinds of glaciers, and it was beautiful. It was before even our children were born, so we did have a little bit of extra freedom to go to places that nowadays I would not go to. Currently, at least with my little kids, they would, I don't know, he would basically go ahead and pick up a, my little son would go ahead and pick up some kind of, um, I don't know, a sleigh and just run down the glacier. It's not that easy, really. And I decided that I really like flying over Papua New Guinea, but Iceland is special in some ways. It's also a place where you have lots of bush flying. It's a little bit smaller than Papua New Guinea, and it's also, from my perspective, knowing about the weather situations that you can have on Iceland. Um, it is probably, depending on the time of the year, depending on the season, it is even more challenging. Not necessarily the airstrips themselves, but the conditions that you're going to fly in. The last couple of days, we've had very, very strong winds from all kinds of directions, and partly overcast skies, and so it can be very challenging, and sometimes it's even impossible to fly if you have lots of for example, if you have lots of tailwind on strips where you can only go in one direction and all that. And it can even be more challenging, I believe, than in Papua New Guinea. But with that said, let's just go ahead and do a couple of missions on Iceland. I will show you what's going on there. I decided, first of all, if you don't know about the Bush Divers VA, it's a VA like many others. It's got a great system where you can go ahead and book some flights, find some contracts that you can fulfill, and basically you can do this all over the world, because wherever you go, whichever airport you choose, there are going to be contracts. They're generated randomly, of course, but it's still fun, and you can work your way up and earn some money and buy your own planes and register them and all that kind of stuff. So I decided to book a flight to Iceland from Papua New Guinea. On Iceland, the VA does not have their own planes, so I will. On Papua New Guinea, there's all kinds of planes that are owned by the VA, so you don't have to pay anything for them, to use them. You're only going to have to pay for the fuel, and a part of your salary is going to go to the VA so they can basically take care of the planes. On Iceland, there are no planes from the VA, so I will have to rent one and pay by the hour. So pay per hour. And I like to fly the Kodiak, so the Kodiak costs about $1,000 per hour, and so it makes sense to take on contracts that are lucrative. But there's always something to do here, and the short contracts like this one here, which is only goes like 10 nautical miles, where you transport like four guys to another place, like this here. It is, it's neither very challenging nor is it very lucrative, but you're going to get your money, and you don't have to take care of the airplane maintenance and all that. So you can just go ahead and fly. It's that simple. So tonight, the first we can take on a very small contract at the beginning. I decided that my place of operations or my area of operations initially will be Reykjavik. I know that city. I have been there, and it's a very pretty city. And even some of the tourist hotspots, for example, there's a special church that has a shape like an arrow, and these kinds of special buildings. They've been modeled inside the simulator, so that is pretty awesome. So the first flight's gonna go. Let's take a look at the flight dispatch. The first flight's gonna go from Reykjavik to this little place here. I don't even know the name of the city of the little thing here. Ding ding dong dong, and the destination will be. Let's see. Bravo, India, Sierra. Let's put in something here. I still have fuel 64 gallons, so I might want to pick because we only have 4 linguists, so let's pick up some more fuel and fill it up to like 100 gallons. There we go. And then we can file the dispatch and fetch it from the platform. Yep. So now I will have to change. I will have to put in our destination, our not destination to departure. Let's go ahead and change the audio source. Reykjavik. There we go. There is Reykjavik. That's the domestic airport. There is another big airport here in Iceland, which is the international airport of Keflavik. That's where the flights, the international flights, are being directed. And the other one here, this is more like a domestic airport, and it's a little bit smaller. And that's perfect for us. This is going to be our departure, and the destination will be Bravo, India, Sierra. Sunskide. This little letter that you can see here, it looks like a bit of a D delta letter. This is actually being pronounced like the TH in English. So it's Sandskide Airport. Something like that. We're going to change the time to something, because Iceland is pretty far up in the north. There's during the year, especially in winter time, you have the situation that it's dark almost all of the day. It's not really that much fun to fly in during winter time unless you prefer to fly using IFR rules. But VFR is in the winter time is pretty difficult. Also because of the weather. So let's go ahead and load up the simulator. And see that we have things set up here. There we go. Turn stuff off. Yeah, so Iceland. It is quite a beautiful country. It's not for everybody, I would say, that because of the fact that Iceland has a very distinct landscape. It's full of There are lots of lava fields and lots of stone. You don't really have any kind of trees. Only very rarely you can see a tree. I think some are in Reykjavik, in the capital of the country. But if you drive through the landscape, through the countryside, there is no such thing as a tree. Um, there is a reason for this. I don't really remember exactly what that reason was. Um, I'm gonna have to look it up at some point, I guess, and tell you guys on another flight. But there we go. Let's just get this thing turned on for now. Turn on the lights. There we go. And we can also go ahead and turn on pitot heat because it's cold enough here. During this time of the year, it's not especially cold, but it's still cold enough that it warrants using the pitot heat all the time. So, interestingly enough, the temperature inside the plane is 25 degrees Celsius, which does not really make any sense, but maybe it's some generic value. So, here we go. Anything else? Yes, we should put in some proper trim for takeoff. We go, and then let's see, we need to configure the plane real quick and make sure that we have the right amount of fuel inside the tanks. We're supposed to have 101 gallons of fuel. Let's change that. We're gonna put 51 on each side. That should be close enough that that the software doesn't complain. So, and cargo wise, we're supposed to take on, for passengers, that equals about 680 pounds of or let's just put in some passengers. There we go. 4 of them. We're just gonna take the default value for passenger weight. That's good enough from my perspective. Yeah, there we go. Seats are good. We don't need a co-pilot, by the way. You piece of a claptrap here, you can go away. I don't want you. I'm sorry about that, but I don't really want you, but he's staying. He's always staying here. Okay, so let's take a look at the current weather situation on at Reykjavik. So this is the airport. It's got two possible ILS approaches, by the way. Oh, wait a minute. And then let's take a look at the information, the airport information here, real quick. We have got 3 runways. There's 24, which is currently has a headwind of 10 knots. The other one would be 31 with 8 knots. The more headwind we have, the less crosswind we have, of course. So we're going to take runway 24, which is good. That would be this one here. So we're just going to have to turn around, then turn left, go all the way to this place here, and then walk on the runway all the way to the end. Make sure that we don't run into any obstacle, and then take off. That should do it. Okie dokie. I'm not gonna bother with ATC tonight. I don't feel like talking to Say Intentions, and unfortunately, the amount of what was I gonna say? I forgot. The amount of what the heck? The amount of whatever I wanted to say, I forgot it. Yeah, the amount of controllers that are available on Iceland in Vatsum, for example. These guys are. It's pretty rare that you get real controllers in Iceland. So we could, of course, talk to Unicom, but that's pretty boring, isn't it? So we need to cross the runway here, and then make a left turn, and then we're crossing runway 24 already. Take a look. Oh, wait a minute. I am wrong here. Turn around. Oh, there it is. That is the beginning of 24, actually. So that is a good runway to start from. It really is. I hope we're not going to blow out the windows of this building with our enormous thrust from the Kodiak engines. So here we go, flaps 20. I think 10 would even be enough considering the amount of headwind that we have, but I think we're ready to go. Trim is set, flaps are set. Let's let it build up some torques. There we go. Rotate and take off. That was easy. With that much headwind, it's not really big about so that much of a problem. So we can switch to the GPS track, considering the fact that the destination is really not that far away. We don't even bother with autopilot. We're just going to fly by hand, and we're also not going to fly very high. We're going to stay at about 2,000 feet, and then I guess we're there already. Raise the flaps. Oh no. I think my bush tracker didn't work. Oh, for crying out loud. Well, we might have to put in some manual P-rep. So we're at 2,000 feet already. We can level out. I'm going to activate the autopilot real quick here. And Let's stay at altitude. Let's take a look at the procedures at the possible approaches. This is very close. It's got lots of runways. Actually, take a look at this. That is actually funny. Look at the amount of grass runways, the grass strips they have, and then there's one which has tarmac on it. I think we're going to take that one, depending on the weather, on the winds. Let's take a look. Wind favors runway 31. Oh, there's lots of crosswind here. It's not a big deal, but we'll have to deal with it. So 31. It is visual 31. Enter straight in. Yep. Activate. Go ahead. So, let's see about that. I have to do a little bit of rudder trim here. And after we landed, I'm going to show you something that I have created that might be interesting for some other people out there who are into bush flying, with the Kodiak especially, which is a little performance calculator, a simplified performance calculator, which is supposed to help calculate some of the performance some of the performance values that you need to take into account if you're flying with the Kodiak. So how much runway you need if you have that kind of cargo, or if the airport that you're looking to fly to even makes sense considering the cargo that you have and all that kind of stuff. Might be interesting. Are we going to run into this mountain here? I hope not. This is what Iceland looks like most of the time. The fact that the simulator is putting in some trees here does not really reflect the real thing, because Iceland really almost has no trees at all. The locations where you can actually see trees are very, very rare. So it looks too green, actually, in the simulator. It doesn't look that green on Iceland. So there's our little airport.
500.
Let's see. It's difficult to spot. I have not been flying to this place at all yet. Laps 220. Let's take a look how this looks like. I don't even see it. Is it up on that hill? No, that can't be. On the left-hand side there. Where the heck is it? Line or something? Oh, I think it's up ahead on the left. Let's make a fly over it real quick that I can get it, get an idea where this place actually is and what we're going to have to do. Oh, look at this. This looks like a racetrack area. Some dirt track stuff, probably for, no, bikes. So, but where is the runway? It's on the left-hand side there. We've already passed it. Where is it? Is it up on that hill here? Oh, no. No, right up ahead. Right below us. It is supposed to be right below us. No, it is not. What the heck? Am I misreading stuff here? There's final base.
500.
Oh, dude. I almost crashed in the mountain. Into the mountain. Into the hill. Let's call it a hill. What is wrong with me, dude? Oh, there. I'm such an idiot. Look at that. There it is. That is the tarmac runway. Okay, we're not going to use full flaps for this approach with that much crosswind. It makes sense to remain at our higher speed. Otherwise, we're going to be pushed to the side even more than necessary. Our approach speed will be higher than usual. We're at 20 degrees of flaps, that's okay. I think I'm going to stay at
500.
like 80 knots for the approach. And then brake very quickly once we hit the ground. There we go, that looks good. We're not being pushed too far, too quickly. We've got tailwind actually. Very little bit of tailwind. And like 7 knots of crosswind. Yeah, look at the windsock there. You can see what's going on. Okay, let's find a place where we can park this thing. Is there some place? I don't see anything. Interesting. But we can just go ahead and park it beside the runway. There are no buildings here. Okay, let's drop these guys here and let him walk all the way. Brake and turn off the engine real quick. Let it settle down. Cut off. Yeah, so my landing didn't register, so I'm gonna put in a manual pre-route. Sometimes this system here doesn't really work very well. Fuel used, I don't really rightly know, about 10 gallons. The distance was, what did it say on planning? Blah blah here. Where's my dispatch? There we go. Distance 1050. Yeah, let's say 12 nautical miles because I did a couple of circuits here. And the flight time might have been, I don't know, 15 minutes, something like that. Okay. So, what are we going to do next? We're at Abyss. Let's see what kind of contracts these guys have for us. Back to Berg, that's pretty boring. But it's going to bring some good money. What is this? That's 50 miles to go. 10 people. Look at the... Oh, well, looking at the amount of money that I get flying 10 nautical miles, or the money that I'm going to get flying like 60 nautical miles, it's almost the same. I think I know what I'm going to choose. So, flight dispatch. Here we go. We're going to take our rented Kodiak. That would be there we go. And we can follow the dispatch. And then cancel the flight, please. Yes. Fetch the dispatch. We're in the boarding process. Not really, but good enough. We're supposed to have 6 passengers now. So let's put in some more passengers. The cargo, 2 more passengers right there. And another one here. Looks good. Empty. Yibbity yip. Okay. I guess we're ready to go, huh? The fuel is still okay. Then let's turn this thing back on. Let's say everything to 0. Let's hope it doesn't blow up. We didn't give it a lot of time to cool down, but usually this should not be an issue. ITT peaks out at 690. Considering the outside temperatures, that is going to be expected. Okay, everything else is good. Let's retrim for takeoff. And prop float forward. And high idle. And we can go ahead and just invert our flight plan. There is no need to put in all this stuff again. There we are. We would want to take off in the same direction that we landed, so release the parking brakes and go to the other end of the runway. The weather today is actually very, very good, uh, considering the usual conditions that you can have on Iceland. It looks pretty awesome. I'd almost consider it ideal. The crosswind is just, kindergarten right now. Okay. Flaps 20, that's good. Pull back on the yoke, and we're in the air already. It's that easy right now. Raise the flaps to 10. At 85, 95 knots, raise the flaps fully. And then we're just going to fly manually all the way back to Reykjavik. Let's take a look at the possible approaches that we can take right now. Select approach. We've got a couple of options here. I'm gonna let the autopilot fly for a second. Let's take a look at the little nav map, what this thing is saying about the current weather situation here. Right now, the winds should still favor runway 24. Okay, so we're going to land here as well. We're going to do a visual approach on... Oh, we need to trim the rudder. A visual approach on runway 24. There we go. Straight in. Activate. Yep, please. We can reduce the RPM to 2000. And reduce the torque. I mean, these kinds of missions here with just 10 miles, considering the fact that Iceland has, at least in this metropolitan area, it's got a pretty decent road networks. Doesn't really make any sense to fly to these areas because it's going to be easy to approach by car. But we're going to get money for it, so I don't complain. Let's take a quick look at the flight plan. We're supposed to be at 1,400 feet. We can lose some altitude here already. It's turning for final. Let's reduce the speed. Looking at the amount of headwind that we have, I will make a try to land on a dime basically. That should be pretty fun. 10 knots of headwind, full flaps, with the Kodiak being an extremely... Oh. I should take care that this thing is not gonna stall here. I didn't pay attention. So, considering the fact that this thing can land on a dime under the right conditions, this should be fun. I want to fly manually here. Gesturre. Interesting name for a boat, really. Lots of named boats down here. Flaps to full. That should be 24 right there. Let's see how quickly we can stop after touchdown. Prop full forward. Okay, we're nearing this. Oh, come on. We're nearing the speed where this thing stalls, so 50 knots. I want to touch down on the runway right there. The bus is getting in our way. How silly. So, brakes. Okay. That wasn't so bad. Could have been better, but could have been better if this goddamn bus wouldn't have had irritated me. He's to blame here. Let's find a parking position real quick to load off the passengers. So here we go. Parking brake. Cut off. Submit PREP. Yep, that looks good. So, what I wanted to do, I forgot already, to show you the Kodiak, the performance calculator for the K100. So this is it. It's a pretty simple tool, really. It was kind of inspired by this here. I think I showed you already. This is a tool that is a lot more complex than the calculator that I have, but the but that makes it a lot more time consuming to fill out, and you've got to put in some trip information, and even the quick setup is a little bit more complicated than I want to in a sim. You're gonna have to put in airport departure and destination and all that, and you're gonna have to change what kind of rules and blah 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 blah. So even that one, even this particular simplified version of the calculator, of the POH calculator, it's still too much for me. So I decided to create something that is even less complex. It is also less accurate because there are some variables that do not that are missing from the calculation. I wrote it down here somewhere. For example, what we do not factor in are the runway surface conditions, the barometric pressure, the temperature, which does have an influence on the possible performance of the engine. The hotter it is, the less power it can give you, and all that, and some other variables. So, but it's still good enough, in my opinion, to give you a general idea of what the plane can do and how much cargo you can take on, considering the for example, if you're flying on Papua New Guinea, there's lots of airfields that are very short, uh, at a pretty high altitude, like 5,000, 6,000 feet, something like that. And there's a whole lot of difference between an airfield that is on sea level and one that is as high as 6,000. The performance will degrade quite a lot. So looking at for your average setup, here you're going to have to put in cargo, the pilots, the passengers. Let's say we have an amount of 2,000 pounds for passengers and cargo and all that, and maybe 100 gallons of fuel. And the typical Highland Papua New Guinea airport is at somewhere around 5,000 feet. Then you're going to have 2 knots of headwind, maybe, and you have a slope. The runway is sloped. There are a couple of really very strongly sloped runways on Papua New Guinea. For example, Ibai, I'm not sure how much of a slope it has, but I remember that there's one runway which has a slope of 12% on landing, and so you've got a positive value on landing, 12% slope plus on landing, and 12% negative on taking off, and it's going to factor that in. And then you have a performance that looks like this. The landing distance, if you're Landing upslope, you're gonna need at least like 500 or 600 feet of runway, and if you're taking off with a positive slope, it's gonna take a whole lot longer than if you have a level airfield. On the other hand, if you put in negative slope, for example, if you're starting off from I-by, then you're only going to need like 500 feet of runway, and then you're in the air already with that kind of cargo. So it's not perfect, but it is going to give you a hint of what you need to consider when you're flying in the simulator. And it's a lot easier to put in these few numbers than trying to fill out the entire forms from the POH calculator. I mean, we're still talking about a sim. Um, so, with that said, and with that shown to you, let's get back to the task at hand. Let's pick up another bush divers, and I'm gonna put a link to the calculator at the video at the description below the video, so you can find it if you're interested. Um, let's find another contract here. We're at Burke again. Let's pick something that is a little bit more exciting. To show you some sights here, because there are very, very beautiful areas on Iceland. Maybe something in this direction here, because then we're going to be able to see some really nice glaciers. That might be a good idea. Here, agricultural advisors. There is no agriculture. Not really that much agriculture in Iceland. Anyway, let's see what else. That is cheap. No, let's go to Biba. I want to go to Biba. Where is it? There we go. That looks good. Let's take on that contract. We're going to have to split it because we cannot take on 11 passengers. We'll split it so we can only need to ferry 9 of them, and the other one we're going to share it to other people if they want to take on this particular contract. So there we go. Hit that button, hit that button. Destination will be Biba. We're going to add some more fuel, like 101. There we go, just to be safe. And that should do it. Let's fetch the dispatch from here. Fuel does not match, that's alright. Where's my little nav map? There it is. And then put in some more passengers. First of all, the fuel. Let's put back in 51 on each side. And then the cargo. We're supposed to have 9 passengers, so there's another one. There's another one. And then we're going to fill the co-pilot seat with another passenger. Here we go. We're far from reaching the limit yet. And here we go. Load it. Load it all up. Now it seems that we're good to go. No complaints anymore. So let's turn the engine back on. And we're going to put in a new flight plan here. Menu, delete it. And we're going to put in Biba directly. Direct to B. Oh, wait a minute. Biba. Bucky, yeah, that's in the vicinity of Vestmannaeyjar Island down there. Iceland is right. Here we go. Then we can turn off the auxiliary fuel pump and the starter and all that. And then we should be good to go. Everything else we can put in during the flight. We're going to choose an altitude of maybe some, let's say some 6,000 feet. That should be good enough. And we're going to put in a vertical speed of 1200. That should be good as well. And of course we're going to fly nav. And everything else is nice. We can turn off TAWS. And let's find another runway. What would be the preferred runway right now? Let's take a look. It should still be 24. Yes, it is. Oh, 14 knots of headwind. It's getting stronger. Okay. It is getting stronger. Release the parking brake. Let's reset the rudder trim. Put flaps on. Ooh. Somebody spawned right in my face. I was actually... That guy almost gave me a heart attack. Yeah, let's do a quick check. We should set the elevator trim for takeoff. Prop forward, high idle. Flaps 20. Rudder is neutral. Oh, we should put some right rudder because this thing tends to turn to pull to the left during takeoff. So let's go ahead and take off. And we're taking off already. I didn't do anything. Considering the amount of headwind that we get, that was to be expected, but it's still pretty cool. I like it. I love to have a lot of headwind. Who doesn't? Flaps up. Let's make a right turn here. Actually, what I could do is show you the nice. We're gonna make a little detour here. No, it's not even necessary. I think the nice church that I was talking about earlier, which looks a bit like an arrow, should be here somewhere. In this area of the city up ahead, I guess. I'm going to show you this real quick because it's beautiful. This is not it. Let's see. That might be it. Yes, that's it. That is the church that I was talking about, which looks a bit like an arrow. We're going to make a little circuit around it because it's really beautiful to look at. Slow down. Yeah. That is an awesome little bridge. Awesome little church. Here. It's not even little. I'm talking nonsense here. Lower the flaps a little bit so we can fly more slowly. But this really looks pretty much like the original Reykjavik, so they put in quite a lot of effort into making this look as real as possible. And this church in particular is quite awesome, as you can see. Really quite awesome. It really is. And it looks exactly like that in real life. Okay, raise the flaps, accelerate. And then let's put this thing on autopilot. What is it doing? I just want you to not run me into the ground. Stupid autopilot. Now, let's talk about some music. I haven't put in something yet. I should activate Spotify here. And then let's pick up something like, oh my god. Let's pick up some stream beats, lo-fi, I don't know. Is that stuff any good? We're gonna have to retrim the rudder here. We're flying so fast it does not make any sense to have more right rudder. There we go. So we should actually be able to see some of the volcanic not really. Look at this interesting architecture here. There is a little raceway, obviously. And this little settlement here, and yada yada. I'm not sure. There is a pretty famous I'm not sure what I should call it in English, a bath which is called the Blue Lagoon, and that has very nice warm water, which happens due to the geothermal activity below the surface. The water is very warm, actually, and it's also pretty blue. And I've been there with my wife. That was pretty awesome. But I think it has been. Look at the lava fields down there. This looks awesome. The Blue Lagoon has been affected by the recent volcanic activity around Iceland. The Grindavik area, I think it is somewhere down here. You can't, of course, you cannot see this in the simulator, unfortunately, but there has been an eruption in this particular area, I think, and that's also where the Blue Lagoon is. I would say somewhere down here, and well, that's something that the Icelandic people have learned to live with, because they can't change nature. They can only adapt to their surroundings, and they're very good at that. They're very, very good at that. Let's reduce the RPM to 2000 here. The torques are good. Yeah, so if you're driving, if you're going around Iceland in a car during the summertime, that's pretty easy. There's not a whole lot that can happen. Oh, look at that. We've got icing here. The windshield is icing up, so let's turn that on. It should go away pretty soon. Yeah, what was I going to say? But considering, I mean, the volcanic activity that you have on Iceland all over the place, that means that you can suddenly be there are not many roads that go all around the island, and the volcanic activity means that you can suddenly be cut off from from the center of civilization here in Iceland, which is Reykjavik. So the main roads can suddenly be destroyed by lava or something like that, and then you're going to have to deal with being cut off from civilization, basically. And that's something that the Icelandic people have learned to adapt to. They kind of factor in the possibility that especially in the remote areas, you're not going to get any kind of supplies, at least for a short amount of time, a couple of days maybe. You do have helicopters, you do have planes, you do have all kinds of airfields, but still, if something like a volcanic eruption happens, that is something that cannot be mitigated easily, quickly. I think we're going to stay below the let's go to an altitude that's a little bit lower. Let's go to like 4,000 maybe. Is it easy? Yeah, so. And there are a couple of other things about Iceland that I really admire. For example, we've been talking to people when we were there who told us that some German people who left Germany to live in Iceland, and they have gotten fond of the fact that on Iceland there are no jobs that are considered to be lower or less respectable than other jobs. The guy who's filling the shelves in a supermarket is just as important as the guy who I don't know, just as the doctor, because every single job in on Iceland, or not necessarily every single job, but many of the jobs that people do in everyday life, they have their purpose, and the payment is a lot better than, for example, in Germany. Even if you do some of the jobs that are considered to be lower end or less important than others. So a guy who's cleaning up the toilets at some restaurant, he's still going to get paid uh, uh, appropriately because he's doing a very important job, and people are there's just the community is much more tightly knit than in other places on the planet. I guess that is due to the fact that Iceland has a very small population. Actually, I think there are not more than like 4 to 500,000 people on the entire island, and most of these guys live in Reykjavik, which is the capital. There are some other cities like Akureyri or Egilsstaðir on the east end of Iceland, which also have a couple of thousand or maybe a couple of tens of thousands citizens, but the main part of Iceland really, the biggest amount of citizens really live in Reykjavik. So that is the hub for basically everything. And that's Iceland is just an utterly friendly and welcoming culture. You should, of course, be polite as a tourist. You should respect nature. You should stay in line if you want to go to a museum, or I don't know, walk into a bath. You should not try to cheat your way to the front of the line and all that. I mean, all this stuff that you basically do anyway, because if you're a decent person, you're not gonna cheat your way around. But in Iceland, the people are especially sensitive to that kind of misbehavior. And there's also something that we found out because we met Austrian guys at a guest house. Basically, if you're visiting Iceland and you're going to do a round trip using the ring road, then usually you're going to stay overnight in guest houses. The guest houses have some kind of tradition on Iceland. There are not many hotels. At the glacier, in the glacier areas, you have some kind of usually have a couple of hotels in the bigger cities as well. But if you're circling the island and visiting smaller towns or communities, you're not going to find hotels. So there's people who are offering rooms in their own houses, in their own communities, and you can rent these rooms. And usually it's a lot cooler than actually staying in a hotel, because it's more personal. You can talk to people. They're going to give you an insanely great breakfast, and we've had lots of fun there. And we met a couple of very nice people. One of these really nice one of these people that we met was actually a pair of man, woman, who did pretty much the same that we did, a drive around the island, and they made the mistake of driving too fast. So the Icelandic police is monitoring people in a fair way, actually. The Austrian guy, he was driving too fast constantly. He was driving. There's this ring road, as I said, and the ring road goes all around the island, and there are many parts of this ring road that just go in a straight line for miles and miles, and it's easy to get lost there when it comes to speed. You just hit the gas and drive, and the top speed allowed on Iceland is like 55 miles per hour. But the Austrian guy was going a lot faster, maybe 70 or 80 miles per hour. Usually, as long as you do that only to maybe overtake another car, if you then accelerate and drive like 70 or 80 miles per hour, it's not a big deal. But if you constantly doing some, if you're speeding constantly, you're gonna get punished for that, because the Icelandic police is very gets very upset if you do some speeding on purpose. So they were monitoring this guy from afar. Obviously, these guys were using some kind of glasses. They were looking at them from afar, from above, from a hillside. They were looking down on the street. When they found out that this guy was that the Austrian guy was speeding all the time, they caught him and fined him, and a whole lot. I think he was paying like 600 euros for his speeding, and I thought that was pretty good, because I mean, if they have their rules, and if people are exploiting the good nature, the kind nature of people, and this, I mean, the nature on Iceland is desperately in need of preserving, and people need to respect it and make sure that they don't destroy anything. And people who are speeding, they're not only disregarding the rules that exist, but they're also going to put a lot more exhaust fumes in the air, and they're basically doing it wrong entirely. So they were being fined big time, and they were talking about this experience, and they warned us to not do that. I wouldn't have done it anyway. I mean, I'm not here to win a race, but I was. We actually, most of the time, we drove even more slowly than it was allowed to, just to be able to take a look at the surroundings. But our car had a what's it called? If you can set a speed and then just some automatic. Holy crap! What is it called? I think you know what I mean. Some system that is going to keep the car at a certain speed. So anyway, I was using this system to keep up the speed automatically all the time, and I wouldn't have even if I didn't pay attention, the car wouldn't have gotten any faster than it had to go. So that was all right. Yeah. So I do love Iceland. It's an awesome place. And as you can see right here, there are no trees whatsoever. Lots of lava fields, lots of stones, a little bit of agriculture here and there, but most of the time you can see stones, all kinds of different rock formations. And there are also flowers and bushes. Flowers, there's a particular kind of flower, you need to look it up. What's it called? The national flower of Iceland. What is it called? Yeah, there's a nice old about the trees. I was telling you earlier that there are almost no trees in Iceland. So there's an old joke that goes like this. What do you do if you find yourself lost in an Icelandic forest? Stand up, because there are no trees. Anyway, what is there's this particular flower. Arctic thyme, no, that's not what I was looking for. Lupine. Lupinus notecatensis. There are huge fields of lupines, and they are considered to be controversial on Iceland because they're taking so much room. They're basically growing everywhere, and these lupine fields are beautiful. They come in different colors, and looking at these huge fields, it almost, in some ways, it looks like lavender. They have a purple color. Some of these lupines have purple color, and these fields look awesome, really. But obviously, there is what here it says. Since its arrival, the lupine has prospered and spread all over the country, sometimes in locations where it is not wholly welcome. In many areas, it poses a threat to a number of indigenous plants, including some moss species, which are notoriously difficult to establish or recover. So they are afraid of some kind of lupine monoculture, and that would actually hurt the country or the environment on Iceland. So there you go. Let's see, how far do we have to go? Like 11 miles. Let's take a look at the possible approaches. There are only 2 runways right there. Biba, Las Vegas. Biba, Las Vegas. The airport looks like we have the best runway for wind would be runway number 30. It's got 7 knots of headwind, so that's easy. We're going to fly around and approach from the opposite direction. Straight fly in. There we go. Activate. Let's go. And we can already lower the altitude here, I guess, to like, I don't know, 1,500. That should be good enough. It's overcast around here. Look at that. The wind's not too bad right now. As you can see, we have a little bit of crosswind right now, 7 to 8 knots. I've seen a lot worse conditions than today. Even in the last couple of days, I've done a couple of flights on Iceland just to check out the current conditions, and there were sometimes in some places I had crosswind like 20 or 25 knots, which was pretty difficult to deal with. But it's a challenge. I like challenges. And I think we're going to do another flight, and then we're going to go into the Highlands, just to show you that area a little bit, because it's awesome. It's like being on a whole different planet. It really looks otherworldly in some aspects, because there are no plants anymore, almost no plants. Looks like some kind of moon environment. And there are some people who do not like that, who want to have some greenery around them. But I really cherish this rugged landscape. It's just something that I have gotten to admire a lot. And in this area, there are beaches with black sand. That is from obviously sand that was created from lava. And walking on these beaches, on these black beaches, is also like being on another planet. I know there are places on Earth that also have black sand, but there's a little town called Vic, and Vic has some of the most stunning beaches I've ever seen. So if you ever have the opportunity to go to Iceland, please do visit this particular area because it's just awesome, impressive. Unfortunately, me and my family, we didn't have the opportunity to go to Iceland another time yet. It might happen at some point in the future, maybe. But Iceland has also become very, very expensive to be a tourist on. The cars to car rental has become very expensive. The flights have become very expensive. Basically, everything has become expensive, and if you want to do something like what we did a couple of years ago, it was in the year 2014, so it was about 10 years ago. It was expensive back then. For the 4-week trip that we did back then, we paid around 8,000 euros, and we didn't do anything special. It was 8,000 euros because the flights were expensive, the car was expensive, the what's it called? The guest houses were expensive. They were great. It was awesome in every possible way, but it was really, really expensive. And nowadays, I would expect to pay more than $10,000, 10,000 euros for the same kind of vacation that we did back then. So that's not something that I can afford to do currently with 2 kids, a house, and all that. I just can't spend that much money on a single vacation. That's not possible for me, unfortunately. But at some point in my life, I want to go back there because it was so utterly awesome. So there is the runway. Let's lower the flaps to 20. Throttle forward. Let's put in a bit of rudder here to keep this thing straight in a straight line. We do have a bit of crosswind. I need to correct that using the rudder. It works quite well. We're a little bit too slow here already. Okay, is there some place where we can park properly? Oh, it actually looks like a little hotel there. Yep, there's some kind of taxiway. It looks like a dirt, like some kind of dirt patch here. So let's drop the kids off at the pool. Okay. Parking brake. Cut off the fuel here. Turn that thing off for a minute. And submit the PREP. Here we go. And let's pick up the next one. Another one for today should be good enough. Find contracts. So where do we want to go? Ideally, we would find something. There's Thingvellir National Park. That is, that's a nice area. Thingvellir. Actually, if you have, I think it is, you should pronounce it, if you have something like a E-double-L-I-R, I think the pronunciation would be thing. You have a TH at the beginning here. Thingvellir. Thingvellir. There's, for some reason, they're putting a T or a D in here. After the E, before the L. Thingvellir. I think. If I remember correctly. Thingvatten. Vatten means water, I think. So, we're here at Biba. We could go here. What was beats? No, we want to go in this direction. Bizen? What is that? No, we're not. We're at a different location. Please. What the heck? He doesn't recognize that we're at this place here. Hello, give me something. Oh man. Please. Where's Biba? Oh, dude. Biba, here we are. So we've got a couple of options here. We could go to Scotland, which is a little bit too far away for my taste. And we could go to Bizzle. Shizzle Dizzle. Yeah, that is a little town. No, wait a minute. That belongs to Skeldarfjörjökull. Vatnajökull. That is that is the biggest glacier in Iceland, right? And there is, you can do, I think that was the one glacier that we did a walk on. One of the glaciers, and there's a little lake in front of it. So we're going to go to this place. There is an airfield that exists exactly for this particular area here. And you can do glacier tours here. One day, even more than one day, I think, and a couple of hours and all that kind of stuff. So this is the start, and this here is the actual glacier that you can walk on. I think my wife and I did a tour that went from here to somewhere around here and then back. That was like not a full day, but most of the day we were underway. And once we're in the air, I'm going to tell you something about these glacier walks, because they're not without their own dangers. It's actually, you should know what you're doing for a couple of reasons. Biba to Bizzle. Let's take on that one. But we can only take on a couple of guys, not the entire entourage there. We're gonna split the contract, no, I don't want to share it. Split the contract. Pick up some 9 passengers here. Save the split. Let's take on these guys. How much money we're gonna get for this? 4,000 something. This plane destination will be Bizzle. I think that was Bizzle, right? Yes. There we go. Current fuel. We cannot pick up fuel here. That might get a little bit, we might have a little bit of problem here. Because at Bizzle, we're not going to get any fuel either. But there are some airports in the vicinity. If all else fails, we can pick up some fuel at Bean. Bean is the little city of Höfen, which is not that far away. I guess we're gonna fly from Bizzle to Höfen anyway. So, follow the dispatch. Here we go. Fetch the dispatch. And that looks about right. We can actually let the settings remain how they are because they're basically the same. Like last flight. Okay. Turn it on again. On. Blah, blah, blah. Add NG20. Introduce the fuel. Here we go. ITT is going to peak out at 7. No, not even that. 680. Okay, we can put that back on standby, turn it off. So let's put the trim on takeoff again. High idle and full prop. And we're going to change the flight plan. We're going to delete it. Menu right there. Yep. Direct to Bizzle. Bizzle, shizzle, dizzle. Where is it? Come on, Bizzle, biddle, biddle. Yep. Oh, wait a minute. That is not supposed to be heaven. Well, it belongs to heaven, so it doesn't really make a difference. But heaven, I'm going to show you on the map why I was irritated for a second there. We are here, and there is Bizzle, Höfen Airport, but there is a little city here, which is also called Höfen, as you can see right here, and that is the airport that should have fuel for us if we run low, and I want to go there anyway because it's a nice place. So and here is this immense monstrosity of a cool glacier, which is called Vatnajökull, and you can see it's quite high up here. And there's Höfen, and this is the glacier that I was talking about, Fjällsjökull. They have a very specific pronunciation of all of this. So, yeah, we're gonna go here. Let's go. We're gonna take off in the same way that we landed, considering the headwind. Flaps to, oh, we still have flaps down all the way. I forgot. And you can see the beginnings of the glacier up here. This is just like it looks in real life. It's pretty much the same. Here, that's the beginning of the Vatnajökull, or whatever it's called. I can, for the life of me, remember every syllable. But it's an impressive area. Really, it really is. The music is getting on my nerves here. Okay, let's turn around. Flaps 20. The trim looks good. Flaps look good. Props full forward. Idle. The engine values look good. Let's go. And we're in the air. In the air. Raise the flaps to 10 degrees, 85 knots. Now we're at 95, raise them fully. Make a right turn. There are these utterly beautiful black beaches right there. They don't really look that black in the simulator, but in reality, they are black as the night. Truly, there are many nice pictures of these black beaches on the internet. You're welcome to take a look at them. It's awesome. It really is. So let's go ahead and activate the autopilot. It should work well now. What the heck is it doing? Oh, I forgot to activate the flight plan, for crying out loud. I think that we should fly a different route here, because we're gonna get in conflict with... Well, we could do some glacier flying, right? Might be interesting to look at. I want to fly manually, and we're gonna go the route here, this nice river. We're gonna fly through here and close to the glacier. I am going to activate the autopilot, but I'm going to fly heading. Come on, give me heading. There we go. Yep, this is it. And I think we should increase the altitude a little bit here. Otherwise, we might be too low to cross the glacier. Let's go to 5,000. That should be good enough for now. And vertical speed to like 1200. Let's reduce the RPM to 2000. There we go. torques to 1540, something like that. Flaps are up. So let's see. Let's make a right turn here. What is the autopilot doing? I should be switching to heading mode so as to not crash us into the yeah, look at that. Is that not beautiful? One of the things that are a little bit unfortunate in the simulator is the fact that you cannot really experience the... there are many very beautiful waterfalls, big ones and small ones, but they're not being rendered entirely in a realistic way. You cannot see the water really sprinkle down the you know what I mean. I'm too tired to translate properly. Look at this glacier stuff here. That is so utterly beautiful. And unfortunately, when we were in this area like 10 years ago, the glaciers have shrinked a whole lot. Some of the area that we actually walked on at Skaftafjell Glacier, whatever this area is called, some of the glacier that we walked on doesn't even exist anymore because it melted due to climate change, due to the warming. There are all kinds of scientific studies about that, but the Icelandic glaciers are dying basically because of the increased temperatures, and that is very, very unfortunate. That's basically a catastrophe. Not only for tourists, because they're not going to be able to see glaciers anymore. I'm not sure how long it takes until they're mostly gone, but it's probably going to take a couple of decades, unless the temperatures are going to rise even more. But it's dramatic. The changes are quite dramatic, and you can see it. You can see the changes on satellite maps from back then and now. So let's go and increase the altitude to like maybe 7 or 8,000, maybe 7,000. Let's see how this is going to work out. I'm just guessing here because I didn't look at the map how high we should actually go, but the Kodiak is such a quick climber that there should not be any issue at all. Nah, I think 6,000 should be good enough. Otherwise, we're not going to see the details anymore. The glaciers. Because they're so beautiful. There it is. There it kind of begins over there. This massive, vast area. But that's only a small part of it, really. The actual Vatna Yokodl, whatever it's called. Let me take a look at the map. It's actually, because that is only, as you can see, this is only a pretty small glacier. It's Habunga. Now that's the peak. What is the glacier called? Myrdalsjökull. There we go. And that is the big one. So. And as you can see, there's still lots of snow and ice here. We're in springtime. It's already past springtime, but considering that Iceland is high up in the north, it's almost at the Arctic Circle. So the winter time there is a lot longer than it is like in Germany or North America. And you're going to have a lot more snow here, or a lot longer period where you have snow and ice. That's just the way it goes around here. Yep, our fuel quantity doesn't look good, and we're burning way too much fuel here. I should make sure that we're below 300 maybe. Yeah. What is the ground speed? 170 knots. As you can see, we're getting a warning already here. Fuel quantity is in the yellow. Should have planned ahead a little bit better. Let's take another look at the map. As you can see right there, ahead of us is an area of the country where we have where there is no snow anymore. Yeah, and we're flying directly to Bissell here. We could actually turn on the autopilot, turn on the nav mode of the autopilot again, because now it doesn't matter anymore. Turn off heading direct to enter. There we go. We could take a look at the procedures. I don't think there are, we have a lot of, I don't think there is a lot of different approaches to choose from, because there are hills in the way. As you can see, I think that most of the time the preferred runway would be 34, but we're going to take a look at the weather situation. It's already 3 hours old, but let's see. 16. Surface is soft. It's gravel. Headwind 7 knots, crosswind 7 knots. We'll see. Yeah, we could do approach from around here and make a very short turn to final here. We'll see. We can select 16 for now, but I would say that we're going to take a look at the situation once we're there, then see what we can do. We're still 54 miles away. So while we fly there, let's take a quick look at the recent news about Iceland glaciers. Icelandic glaciers receding. Climate change. There is this. That is what I think. That is what I've been looking at. Skiff.com. Blah blah blah. Arctic portal. The disappearing glaciers of Iceland. Yes. That is unfortunately the reality. Icelandic monitor. Let's take a look at that. Temperature increase is a sustained trend. Sure. Where to find ice in Iceland? That's one of the ironic things really about all of this. Iceland, it was called Iceland for a reason, because there was lots of ice, I would say. They're telling here the predictions are alarming, and in a worst case scenario, some climatologists have suggested that Icelandic glaciers would vanish within 100 years, and almost certainly within the next 200. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Glacial retreat is already evident in many areas, such as the Snæfellsjökull, blah blah blah. But according to most models, the rest may follow within a couple of centuries. Yeah. Meltwater changes. The uplift of the land. Yeah, impact of the oceans. That is another whole different story. Not only because of the sea level changes, but also because of the amount of salt that is in the water. If it gets diluted with sweet water, if the salt water is going to be less salty over time, that is going to have a lot of impact on the way the oceans move around the earth. Cultivation and oceans have a huge responsibility when it comes to the way the climate works. We're only having the temperatures, the moderate temperatures that we have in Europe because of the ocean. The what's it called? The Gulf Stream coming from America to Northern Europe, and with warm water warming up our climate up here. If that does not work anymore, we're going to experience quite a temperature drop. Iceland will need to adapt in terms of the way people interact with the landscape, whether that means changing practices or altering risk management strategies. Yeah. Through awareness of the impact of climate change has increased, it may already be too late to prevent dramatic change. Of course, that brings challenges, but it also opportunities. Someone should tell me about the opportunities. I don't see any currently, at least. Look at this beautiful landscape down there. And these little roads here, they're all dirt roads. Make no mistake, they look pretty drivable, but they're all dirt roads. Actually, if if you're a tourist and you would consider to drive into the highlands with a regular car, you're going to be fucked very quickly, because these dirt roads, I've driven them along a little bit at least with a regular Volkswagen. It was a two-wheel drive, front-wheel drive car. I destroyed one tire, and we had a spare, fortunately, but still. And you can drive there up to a certain point, but the roads gonna get the roads are going to get worse all the time. So the only thing that you can really drive into the highlands, this is this area here. From down here, this is all pretty easy. That's low level stuff. But if you're gonna drive into the highlands here, all this area, you're gonna drive there. This is called the Highland area of Iceland, and this you're not supposed to go there as a stupid tourist, because you're gonna get lost. You're gonna get yourself in trouble with your stupid streetcars, and yeah, basically you shouldn't do that. You should have a guide. You should have proper equipment. You should have proper cars or vehicles to go there that are rugged and that have four-wheel drive and all that. So don't make that mistake of thinking that, yeah, I'm going to do this. This is not going to be a big problem. I have driven Jeeps before. Sure, you have. And there's one more thing that I want to talk about earlier is wandering on these glaciers. It looks pretty inviting from up top because the glaciers they have shelves, but the shelves are very big. So you can just go ahead and wander onto these glaciers. There are group walks and treks that go all over the place. But the thing is, these shelves are changing positions basically daily. So you have this huge monstrosity of a puzzle, and the glaciers are moving all the time. And the route that you walked yesterday might not work today or tomorrow because the glaciers are moving, and there are gaps between these shelves. And if you were looking at places where you could cross these gaps, on one day that wasn't a problem, but once they move, suddenly you might have another gap and you don't really know the way. So there are guides who are watching the glaciers constantly, making sure that people that they know where to go, and that people are not going to get lost. You should only do these glacier walks with people who know what they're doing, because they know the way. They know the routes that you can go currently. And there have been people who thought they could do it by themselves, and there have been people who were lost along the way, who died because they got lost, they couldn't find their way back. And it's, if you don't even know that they're there, they could actually just, the weather can change very quickly on Iceland. If you've got a snowstorm, which happens quite often up on these glaciers, or some bad weather, you're not going to find your way home. And there are quite a lot of people who perished on these glaciers because they were not prepared. They didn't know what to do. They could not find their way home, and that's unfortunate. So if you ever get the opportunity to walk these glaciers, do it with a guide if you want to go back, if you want to come back alive. That's simple. "30 minutes to go." There's a little house down there, right? What is this guy doing here? This is so far from. There's another little house. These autogen scenery. At some point, they fail to recognize the I'm sorry. The surroundings. These little houses. There's nothing. They shouldn't exist at this spot down there. Looking at the wind, we've got 10 knots of tailwind, which is accelerating us even. No, we're only doing 165 ground speed. That's less than I expected. Look at that. This is so very nice. My voice is gone. Yada yada. Doop 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 doop. There are lots of wild sheep all over Iceland, which is fun. They're just walking, they're wandering all over the place, and you should always. I'm sorry. Pay attention to what is going on in front of you on the road, because these sheep, they just don't care whether there are cars driving along. They just we've seen sheep just sitting in the middle of the road, taking a nap or taking a break from walking around because maybe the road was warm, whatever. But they were sitting in the middle of the road, and you just had to drive around them because they would not move. These little damn sheep, they decided to stay put all the time. They didn't care about the cars. They just stayed where they are, and then you'd have to find your way around them. That was fun. I didn't dare to actually try to shy them away from up close, because if you have these male sheep with their big horns, they're said to be pretty aggressive. If you annoy them, they're gonna go after you, and that's not gonna be fun. Especially not in a rental car. These guys are mean. They're gonna. I don't know. Fortunately, it didn't happen, but I can imagine some male sheep with his horns running into my car and making sure that I don't ever return. That's what I would do in his stead. It looks like Bizzle, the airport that we're supposed to land on, might be covered in snow. Looking up ahead, there's lots of snow. So we might want to prepare for a slippery landing. Fortunately, we do have a reverse throttle. That's a good thing to have in these kinds of conditions. Yes, sir, or ma'am, depending on your preference. I just found a tick. These little shits are all over the place in Europe here. The most useless creatures on the planet. "11 miles to go. We should lose some altitude here. And then let's take a look at what's waiting for us here at Bizzle, at Heaven Airport. Let's zoom out a little here. We can better see what is happening. Oh man, I hate this. Oops. I don't want to crash into this. Look at this beautiful scenery here. It's so nice. This is also the end of the glacier here. It really flows up from above and makes a little left turn here and flows down towards the sea. That is utterly beautiful. And take a good hard look at all of this, because in a couple of decades it's all going to be gone. And there is no way back. Humankind is destroying the environment. And it doesn't have any right to do that. So let's take a look. I'm not sure exactly where the runway is. Let's make a flyover. I can't even see the runway. It should be down here somewhere. It's completely covered in snow. Oh, dude. Down here somewhere. It should be. But it's not visible. My fellow pilots, this might be very difficult to land here. On the other hand, I need to get rid of my passengers, otherwise I'm not going to get paid. So whatever the hell, I will have to land here. No, I'm stupid. It's up ahead. Man, I should learn to read the map, really. It's up ahead here somewhere. Here on the right-hand side somewhere. Let's zoom in a little. Yeah, there's the runway. Up ahead. Maybe we can actually see it. There's even a possibility that they try to clear the ice, maybe? That would be awesome. Let's take a look. Let's take a look. There is the wind sock down there. Yeah, but I cannot really see the actual runway. Not really. I mean, we could land here anyway. It looks pretty easy to land. This might be the runway here. Although we're not able to see the actual tarmac, but I think this might be the runway. So we're just gonna land there and hope for the best. Prop full forward. Flaps to 30 degrees. And then we're going to turn around. I know it's not ideal right now considering the wind situation. We've got lots of crosswind and a bit of tailwind right now, so let's turn around. This is going to be an interesting landing. Oh, I think I can see the runway from here. This is it, right there. So that is good. We can actually make out the runway. But it's almost invisible. Almost invisible. There it is. Hard to spot. So let's work the rudder here. Almost invisible. Oh, dude. There it is, I think. Yep. Man, I can hardly see the actual runway. We're on the ground. This is called a whiteout. You cannot even see stuff on the ground anymore because of the white. Because of the snow white. Let's find a proper parking position here. Doesn't matter where we roll off the runway because there are no taxiways here anyway. Oh, they do seem to have look at that. These guys do have fuel. But not, unfortunately, not in our bush tracker. Cut off the fuel here. Submit the PRIP. There we go. Let's take a look at how much money we have made today. Shut up. Bush daggers. Here we go. Oh, 80,000 bucks. Nice. So let's take a look at my logbook. Last couple of flights were rather good. My landing rate wasn't perfect. Oh, dude. That was pretty rough. That one was pretty good. That was okay-ish, I guess. Still didn't get a good rating for this, but that's okay. We can live with that. But looking at my financials, I can buy myself an airplane that costs $160,000. So that's nice, isn't it? Yep, it is. So that was it. I would like to thank the couple of guys who've been flying with me so far. It's an honor to really be in company of guys like Skinny or what's the other guy's name who's been flying with me lately so often? Control Freak, and a couple of others who are very generous and very supportive. So huge shout out to these guys, and thanks so much for watching. I hope you took away a little bit of useful information, and maybe it was even a little bit entertaining. So take care. I'll see you soon. And if you like the videos, please do hit a thumbs up, or maybe even subscribe on YouTube, whatever. I would appreciate it a very lot, a whole lot, a very much. You know what I mean. Take care. See you soon.